weekend. Breaking this morning, brand new details about President Biden's reshaped role at the Democratic National Convention now that he's no longer at the top of the ticket. The president this weekend at Camp David fine-tuning a speech he's set to deliver on Monday, day one of the DNC convention in Chicago. Multiple Biden officials tell NBC News the speech will outline the stakes of this election. He will focus on Donald Trump's threat to American democracy. Same time, he will build the case for his vice president, Kamala Harris. An official tells NBC Biden is, quote, pleased at the momentum behind the Harris-Walz campaign. Joining us now, Allison Gill, host of the Daily Beans podcast, and Lateefah Simon, Democrat running for California's 12th congressional district. Go ahead now. She's worked for Vice President Harris when she was San Francisco district attorney. Welcome to you both.
What do you think it is, Allison, that voters need to hear from President Biden?
I think it's going to be a lot of the theme of his Oval Office address about why he's passing the torch and wants to, step aside. I think that was one of the most patriotic things I've seen a president in my lifetime do. And also that, to show that he's going to pass that torch, but she's going to continue the last 3.5 years of work that the Biden administration has been so successful at.
Right, because it's a both end. She's a continuation of the legacy, I would argue, of both President Obama and President Biden. And at the same time, she is her own person. And this is generationally, Simone, a turning of the page. As you well know, she's about a month shy of being Gen X. Mama, give it to her. She's in style, Gen X. And this very much is a new generation coming to power.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, coming to power on the national and international stage. But Lateefah knows, because she worked with the vice president when she was the first woman elected district attorney in San Francisco. Then obviously went on to become elected as the attorney general in California before going to the United States Senate. And Lateefah, I've just been really struck by all of these stories and the people that are like, Kamala Harris is going to have to, she's not saying it, but the people in these stories are saying it, that she's going to run away from the Biden agenda, as though she's not the sitting vice president of the United States of America, as though she doesn't understand the stakes of this election. As though she hasn't worked intimately with Joe Biden for what is... Joe Biden will be recorded as one of the great presidents when the history of our country is written. He will be recorded as one of America's greatest presidents. And just me, I don't understand, Lateefah. Break it down for me. What is happening in the world?
I watched. Good morning, Simone. By the way, watching some of the coverage as folks are laying out who they think Kamala Harris is. You too have worked for her. She's clear. She's loyal to the American people. And you know what? As someone who was raised by a working single mother, there is not a dot that she is not going to dot and a T that is not going to be crossed as it's related to the working class of the United States of America. I'm clear as a mother myself, as a single mother, that my children under a Kamala Harris administration will get their rights to choose. I have 2 daughters. I am also clear, Simone, that my youngest daughter, who her father died of cancer when she was 3 years old, in a Kamala Harris administration, we will not see the tanking of the social safety net of Social Security. Children of dead parents, the elderly and the disabled will have a social safety net in a Harris administration. I'm clear, and I hope the American public can come along with us and get clear as well.
I think to both of the points made so far, that there's a legitimacy, if you will, Allison, with this idea of people finding out who Harris is and the connection that she has to the president, notwithstanding her earlier service as Attorney General. But there is also the fact that she's got to define herself. And there will be, and I think people should not pretend otherwise, some important separation between her and Joe Biden. And because she is her own person and she does have her own idea of how she wants to govern as president of the United States. So there's going to be that. We do have sourcing on the DNC from Biden officials that have been given to us, noting, quote, 4 years ago, America was reeling from a once-in-a-century pandemic. Today, we are the global engine of growth. Our allies are strong. Violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. Border crossings are lower than when the previous administration left office, and we are making progress on issues Americans care about. And what's important to note is a lot of the aides believe that, you know, the convention will continue to highlight the Biden-Harris record. Okay? When does the Harris record start?
Well, I think that you made a really great point, Alicia, when you said it's like a yes and, because they're going on a huge bus tour and they're sending out like 3,200 different events through surrogates across the country to highlight her new like economic plan, for example. And I think that that pulls her away a little bit from Biden, but continues the ideas that he started, like 100 million people will get their taxes cut. You know, Biden was, we're going to, you know, tax the wealthy. She's like, and yes, and we're going to cut taxes on 100 million Americans, middle class. And yes, and we're going to build 3 million housing units and rental units so that we can lower the cost of housing. And Biden was like, we'll give you $10,000 for a down payment. Kamala Harris is like, the Kamala Harris administration is going to give you $25,000 for your down payment to help ease those burdens. And so I think she's taking this a step further. And I think when she goes out and does this tour about her economic plan, and I think she's doing a Milwaukee event during the DNC, she'll be highlighting those differences, that it's yes, and we've done this, and here's where we're going to take it further.
I guess I just don't think it's a difference. I think it's building on, because the lady is still the sitting vice president of the United States of America. You know, she still has to go to work with Joe Biden every day. He has continued to say he is not yet done.
But the point I'm
it's
making,
a building with a distinction.
I get that, but what I'm trying to say that with respect to the Biden portion of that, there are a lot of people out in the country who had a problem with the Biden portion of that. And so I'm just saying.
Did they?
Yeah, they did. I mean,
was the
we're
problem?
talking about the economy.
Yes, I think that. No, I don't think that. Here's the thing.
I mean, people are still complaining about gas prices.
Latifah,
and why is
you
that?
can correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be wrong, because Mr. Chairman is often right. I'm
just saying. What I'm trying to say is I'm not disagreeing with the approach that you just laid it out. I like the yes and approach to this. All I'm saying is, narratively speaking,
it's more rhetorical.
It's a rhetorical thing, and it's a very tricky space for her to be in, because the convention is going to be touting the Biden-Harris. My thing is, okay, now give me some of the Harris juice, because there are some issues that people still have with the Biden portion of that, is people think that the economy isn't as strong as we know it is.
Yes, no, but that is not it. To be clear, I don't think that that's an issue with the Biden portion of that. I think that is a function of the fact.
I'm saying with the American people.
No, I think that the American people are saying that they don't like where the economy is right now. Like, they understand the GDP and everything, but they feel they're squeezed on the pricing and all these other pieces. The Biden when it was the Biden campaign, I don't think they talked enough about that portion. And that
may be the problem.
And that's the issue. But like, for people to say that people had an issue with the Biden economic policies, I don't think they did.
Well,
I really feel like
Harris,
the prescription drug stuff and whatnot, like Joe Biden did that. And so I just think folks need to be very specific before people there is a rewriting maybe of what actually went down. But it could just be me.
Latifah's trying to jump in, so I want to hand it over to her.
Please.
I love listening to you all. But what's exciting to me, again, and I'm a super delegate. I was a super delegate going in if Biden was, going to be at the top of the ticket. But I'm a super, super delegate going in knowing that Vice President Harris is going to be our nominee, is our nominee. Listen, she's a Democrat. It's clear that she understands not only what's at stake, but what they have been trying to accomplish for the last 4 years. I got to tell you, as someone who has worked with her, as you have as well, Simone, Vice President Harris is myopic in her understanding of what real people go through every single day. Again, we worked in that district attorney's office fighting to get kids off the street. She did something that other district attorneys never did, looked at each individual young person who was coming through the system and tried to create a plan. And she knew that for so many of these young people, it was the rent. This is over 20 years ago. It was the daycare. It was the dental care. I have no doubt that as she continues to roll out this economic vision of America, she will not only implement it, but we'll look back 5, 10 years from now, and we'll be able to say a swath of America, the material conditions in which they live in are better because of the policies that she's going to roll out. You know that she is, again, Kamala Harris wants things to happen, and she gets a team around her, and she pushes them to make it happen. I'm excited.
I also think when she talks about going after price gouging, part of what she's doing is leaning into her autobiography, that is actually a use of law enforcement that we would not ordinarily think of, but she is going to